a longtime friend, Charley Steiner, here on the Rich Eisen
Hi there.
Show. Good to see you. What is it like? I mean, you've called sports for quite some time, if you don't mind me saying.
50 years.
5-0. What is it like watching a team win 69 of the first 100 games of anything, Charlie?
It really has been a remarkable run because I don't know that anybody expected it. What's happened this year, Cody Bellinger arrives out of nowhere, and now he's the second leading home run hitter, and half of his home runs have been clutch. Seager, in his second year, is a big star. Turner is having a breakout year. And on April the 1st, if anybody in sports knew who Chris Taylor was,
Right.
they were a better man than we were. And he was the 26th man on a 25-man roster, and now he has shown up and has had a sensational season. The pitching has been really solid. I made the comparison last week. I'm watching the Dodgers play. I guess we were in Chicago. And this team, the 2017 Dodgers, remind me of the 98 Yankees. And think about it for a minute. The Yankees won 114. They were probably the best constructed baseball team that I've seen in my career. Because in 98, Jeter was just in his third year, no sign that he was going to be a Hall of Famer. Bernie Williams had a great year. The Yankees had a switch-hitting catcher, Posada. Dodgers have a switch-hitting catcher, Grandal. Very similar in how they go about their business. They had Brocious and Tino at the corners.
They did.
The Dodgers now have Bellinger and Turner, who's hitting about 370 at the corners. It's more than the players themselves that are similar. It's how they go about their business. They're relentless. They 1 through 8 or 9 in the batting order. Everybody's been dangerous. Taylor has just turned into a great player. The question is he a good player having a great year, or is he a great player at the beginning of an amazing career?
Well, I guess that's for future years to come. In the here and now, I mean, Bellinger revelation doesn't really do what he has done justice. Who is he? I mean, I know he's Clay Bellinger's son, and we know he hits clutch home runs, and we know he doesn't know who Jerry Seinfeld is. I mean, outside other than that, who is Cody Bellinger?
The fact that he is Clay Bellinger's son, I think, is a big deal. Clay Bellinger was a utility player who was just struggling to hang on. He was in the Yankee organization. I saw him a fair amount in New York when actually I was calling the ESPN games, and we spent a lot of time with the Yankees, spent a lot of time with the Braves, and a lot of time with the Indians just because they were an attraction then. And Bellinger had to work every step of the way to maintain a 3-year career. And so Cody, unbeknownst to me way back when, would be in the clubhouse every once in a while. Yeah, he was about 2 years old or whatever it was. In fact, Bellinger last night, facing Bartolo Colon, was a year old when Colon made his major league debut. A year old. Seager was 2. So you see these kids evolve, and you know some of their parents. And I think the fact that Clay Bellinger had to work so damn hard just to maintain a brief major league career was not lost on Cody. He understands how hard it is to succeed, and we'll find out over the course of time how to maintain.
Charley Steiner here in the Rich Eisen Show studio, and the fact that we've been talking about all these position players and how young they are and how good they are, and we haven't even mentioned Yasiel Puig's name yet once, shows about how he has been rehabilitated. Is that a good word for it? Or
I think he's beginning to grow up. When he first arrived, June 3rd, 2013, he was this brother from another planet. Who was this guy? And he did all these remarkable things. Then he probably got lost in himself for a couple of years. But I think what has happened, A, he's grown up. B, there's never been a question about his unparalleled athletic skills. And I could say this with a fair degree of certainty. He's the best defensive right fielder in the game, period. He covers more ground than anybody else. You'll see at least a highlight a night on the stuff that he does. His throwing arm is the best in the game. And he's also hitting .250. He's batting 8th in the lineup, and he's hit 18 home runs. So when you look again at the Dodgers, 1 through 25 are the starting 8. When your 8th hitter is hitting 18 home runs, you know you're onto something pretty good. And you've got this kid, Bellinger, who's got 28 home runs. If you prorated that over 162 games, how many home runs do you think he's got? 57.
It's crazy.
57 and 136 RBIs. And he came up 20 games into the season.
Well, that home run that started our segment that you called was a curveball on the outside part of the plate, and he spanked it to straightaway center field.
The problem was it was a third consecutive curveball thrown by Rogers last night. And so he was sitting on it.
Well, those are mistakes that normally you can't make to a veteran.
Right.
And now you're seeing somebody of his age do that. So let me ask you this before we take a break, before we get to Kershaw and other aspects of it.
Kershaw.
What has Dave Roberts done that Mattingly could not? Is that a fair question? I know I just asked you 2 questions in one, but what do you got for me, Charlie?
I think it's true in any line of work, whether it's radio, television, running a fruit stand. The temperament and mood of the clientele is reflective of the boss. Donnie was of older school. He saw the game played one way. He learned at the knee of Joe Torre. He played that way. Dave is 44. Donnie's 55 or 56. I think he is better able to relate to the younger player to some degree. And one of the things that made Roberts such a terrific player, he was cerebral. He was really smart. And one of the things that Dave is able to do, watching him night in and night out, as a strategist, he's very, very good. He's got a lot of parts to play with. He has a bench that he is able to use judiciously. And winning begets winning, begets winning. And right now, these guys show up to work every day thinking, maybe even knowing, they're going to win that night. And 69% of the time, they have.
And Dave Roberts could steal a base, right, Brockman?
I called that one, too.
When he can, Rich. And the whole world knows he's stealing. He can steal a base.
2004.
I remember doing that, doing the Yankees. And there he is at first base, pinch running. And everybody knew he was going to run. Mariano knew he was going to run. Posada knew he was going to run. And it was a great throw. And you knew at that given moment, the Queen Mary was beginning its U-turn. It was a palpable sense inside Fenway Park when that moment happened. Kevin Millar and a couple other guys before that game said to me in front of their dugout, we're just talking, and they said, if we win tonight, we're going to run the table because of the pitching matchup. And then when that stolen base happened, I remembered back what Millar said, and Kevin Euclid with the 2 guys. Mm-hmm. We win tonight, we're going to run the table. Yeah. He stole, they won.
And the table got run. Back in 60 seconds with Charley Steiner. We'll talk Kershaw and then what the Dodgers might be thinking of doing with that 11.5 game lead in the trade deadline just around the corner, just like another segment with Charley is back in 60 seconds. Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show. Charley Steiner calling tonight's Dodgers-Twins game at Dodger Stadium tonight, as he did last night with Cody Bellinger's go-ahead 3-run shot in the 8th inning for the now 69-31 Dodgers. Joining me here for another segment here on the Rich Eisen Show. How concerned are the Dodgers about Kershaw's back, best you can tell, Charlie?
They have to be. How can they not be? Last year, he missed 2 months. He had basically a full month then to get himself as together as he could be for the postseason. All the while he was gone, the Dodgers were like 13 games over 500. Mm-hmm. But one of the things I learned from my days with the Yankees and just being around baseball, there are 2 seasons, 162 games, which is an appetizer.
Yes.
And the Yankees used to treat it as an inconvenience. And then there's a second season where you have to win 11 games, and only one team can do that. They're all fighting to win that the final game of a World Series. And 11 games is what gets you there. Where he is now 2 days after the injury and where he is going to be on September 1st or October 1st, I flunked biology in high school and college. All I know is if you've got a bad back, and he had a bad back last year, it ain't good. So what his status is, how far away he realistically is to being back to Kershaw, who, when given 3 runs of support, is 110-8. So he's a once-in-a-generation pitcher. And when you lose somebody like that, how can it not be significant? How significant? That's why they play.
Do you think this changes their plans on what they might do?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I think the feeling was they wanted to get another starter. Obviously, they felt good about Kershaw. Wood is having a career year, another career year player for the Dodgers. Rich Hill has become a much more reliable pitcher and from the second month on to now. So you got 3 you can absolutely bank on. Ryu sometimes, Maeda sometimes, McCarthy sometimes, but you don't have the luxury of a sometimes outstanding performance.
Well, you're
come the World Series.
Well, because you mentioned that there's a second season, we got to win 11 games, and you know more than anybody that second season, more than any sport too, the playoffs will always find your weakness. If you've got an Achilles heel, playoffs in any sport will find it, but not anything quite like baseball. If you've got a right fielder who can't throw, if you've got a problem in the pen with a lefty,
it'll find you.
It will find you. The baseball will find that person. So why wouldn't the Dodgers go ahead with this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity with all these youngsters, some of whom you're wondering, are they the real deal or not? Why wouldn't they go ahead and go get Darvish, go get Verlander, go get maybe Zach Britton for the back end of that pen and hit the win it now button?
They have to be available first. In the case of Darvish, Texas is still flirting with the notion they may be able to parallel park themselves into a wild card. Verlander, I would assume, is to some degree available. He's expensive.
The Dodgers don't seem to be looking in the seat cushions for that quarter, though, Charlie, you know?
Again, so their long-term strategy.
Sure.
I mean, they have protected their precious young talent. What if they had traded Bellinger 2 years ago? What if they had traded Seager a year or 2 ago?
Right.
So it's not a lead pipe cinch necessarily. I think it is fair to say they would love to get another starter. Who and for how much? I don't know.
So of all the teams that you've seen come into Chavez Ravine as the away team or you seeing as the home team with the Dodgers on the road, who's the best? Who's the other team that you've seen out there go, that's a pretty damn good?
Washington can hit from top to bottom. Whether or not their bullpen, talking about blemishes suddenly showing up about 2 o'clock in the morning in the bar, go,
yes. Right?
You understand.
It's been a while, Charlie. It's been a while. But, yes, I pick up what you're putting down.
Yeah, baby. So that's what they have to come to realize. I mean, so the Washington is to me, the teams that we've seen. We saw the Cubs when they weren't very good. But one of the things that has struck me this year, and if you talk to scouts around the game, the quality of play is not what it once was.
What do you mean?
Well, you've got guys who are strikeouts don't matter, so they swing from their asses all the time, and so a strikeout is worth the possibility of a home run. The fundamentals of the game, I think, have deteriorated to some degree.
I totally agree with you, man. And the 2 words that drive me insane more than any other this year, because it's been prevalent more than any other than this year. Exit velocity.
Yeah, I don't know what it means.
Honestly,
I don't know. War. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
Well, but apparently it's worth for something considerable.
Again,
aren't the Dodgers at the forefront of the exit velocity and war and all that?
I guess I don't know what the hell it means. Yeah, what I do know is if they've got one more run than the other guy, they win. Terry Collins, God bless him, said, isn't it amazing how many good players have good numbers? Hello.
Yeah.
I fundamentally don't understand that stuff. Wee Willie Keeler hit them where they weren't.
It worked for him.
Yeah. So, again, I'm of the age where my baseball cards were ruined by the spokes in my Schwinn racer. But I looked at the back of the card, and I could tell you he was a pretty good player or not.
Right.
So all that stuff, they may see stuff that I don't, and clearly they do.
But you're around the Dodgers all the time.
Yeah.
Aren't the Dodgers one of those teams that takes a look at every decimal point in every spot, and everybody's positioned in a certain way based on what the metrics say? And that's the sort of stuff that drove Mattingly nuts, apparently, reportedly, that Roberts is actually more into than Mattingly. Aren't the Dodgers at the forefront of this whole business?
And I go back to what Terry Collins said. Good players have good numbers.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of good players. It's a very interesting lineup. You've got a lot of speed.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of power. There's not, well, Bellinger's now the real home run hitter. But again, when you got a guy like Puig hitting 18 home runs, batting 8th, well, okay. Again, I'm not suggesting that those numbers don't matter. I fundamentally don't understand them.
Mm-hmm. Before I let you go, Charlie, what was it like having a front row seat to Vin's final season? What was that like for you?
Vin we would not be talking had there not been Vin Scully, because when I was 7 years old, first time I listened to him on the radio in New York as the voice of the Brooklyn Dodgers, I put my ear to the speaker and I was taken. That's what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to be the Dodgers announcer. But then they moved when I was 8, and that pissed me off. But I knew what I wanted to be. And so then, through happenstance, I became a Dodger announcer in 2005 and became friends with the guy that I wanted to be when I grew up. And over the course of the years, he became a very close friend, a father, mentor-like figure, a guy that Rick Monday and I had dinner with 100 times a year before every game. So we became very close. And so to watch he was the only guy who had a going-away tour that came to him. People would show up, line outside the booth, like it was a delicatessen. I'm next. And he would, and so to watch all of that, and then to spend the time that I did with him was as cool a process, as cool a year as I've ever had. And we still talk on the phone a couple of times a month.
How's he doing?
He's doing great. He loves the idea that he's retired.
Is that right?
Yeah. Oh, when he walked out the door, it's kind of like Earl Weaver. Closed the door, day's done. And he likes being home. He likes taking the car to the car wash. He likes going to Costco. He likes sitting around and reading the paper in the morning. And he is happy in his life. And I can say that without reservation.
So wherever Vin is living here in the Los Angeles area, if somebody walks and is trying to buy a cereal or get the shine buffed on their car, they could turn and see Vin Scully standing right next to him in line.
I suppose if you live in the neighborhood.
Yes. I'd love that. Charlie, you were the best, man. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
I want to make this a regular thing if you are so inclined, Chaz.
You're on.
Okay.
Charley Steiner. The only show that I do. I don't do it.
I know you don't. I know that. No. Trust me. I know that. And I greatly appreciate that. We go back a day.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say how far back, right?
Because you're just a child.
Charley Steiner calling tonight's Dodgers get win their 70th freaking game tonight to go 39 over. Yeah.
It's a number. But, again, I go back to what I said. This is great. They're playing better than anybody. Mm-hmm. They have to win 11 in October.
The drama continues. Charley Steiner here on The Rich Eisen Show. Your phone calls when we come back.
The Rich Eisen Show. Weekdays at noon Eastern on radio stations across the country and audience.
If you like that video, be sure to download our app. Don't have any memory on your phone? Let's start to delete